Polonium-210 is one of the deadliest elements in the world. Invisible, odorless, and extremely radiotoxic, a dose of just 1 microgram, equivalent to a grain of salt, is enough to kill an adult within days. Its history is marked by mystery, espionage, and deaths that have shaken the world, turning it into a symbol of science being used for sinister purposes. The story of polonium begins in 1898 with Marie and Pierre Curie. Investigating pitchblende ore, they found it was far more radioactive than its uranium content could explain. Their meticulous work led them to isolate a new, intensely radioactive substance, the very first element they discovered together. In a bold political act, Marie named it polonium. At the time, her homeland, Poland, was not an independent nation. By etching its name into the periodic table, she shone a global spotlight on its struggle for sovereignty, a powerful testament to how science and politics can intertwine. The isotope polonium-210 is the source of its lethality. It decays by emitting alpha radiation. Paradoxically, this makes polonium relatively safe externally, as a sheet of paper or human skin can stop the particles. But if ingested or inhaled, the story changes. Inside the body, the alpha particles become microscopic wrecking balls, causing immense localized damage by shattering molecular bonds and corrupting DNA, leading to catastrophic organ failure. Its half-life of 138 days is key to its sinister use. It's stable enough to be produced and transported, yet short enough that after several months the substance decays to levels that are incredibly difficult to detect, allowing assassins to effectively erase their tracks. Acquiring polonium-210 is no simple task. It must be created artificially by bombarding bismuth-209 with neutrons inside a nuclear reactor. Only a handful of state-run nuclear programs possess this highly specialized capability. Consequently, access is exceptionally restricted. This is why its appearance in the hands of assassins is so alarming. Its use as a weapon almost certainly implies state sponsorship, making it the poison of choice for powerful and shadowy organizations. Once inside the human body, polonium-210 becomes a relentless, invisible assailant. Whether ingested, inhaled, or absorbed, its chemical properties allow it to mimic essential elements, tricking the body into distributing it far and wide through the bloodstream. It doesn't spread evenly, instead accumulating in the body's busiest tissues, the liver, kidneys, spleen, and most critically the bone marrow, the very factory of our blood. Here, polonium-210 begins its devastating work. It is an alpha emitter. Unlike penetrating gamma rays, alpha particles are stopped by skin, but inside the body their short range becomes their deadliest feature. They deposit all their destructive energy within a few cells' distance, shattering the delicate structure of DNA. This genetic sabotage prevents cells from repairing themselves, leading to a cascade of systemic collapse. The liver and kidneys, bombarded by this radiation, begin to die in a process known as necrosis. Simultaneously, the assault on the bone marrow cripples the production of new blood cells. A lack of red blood cells causes profound anemia, while the halt in white blood cell production leaves the victim completely defenseless against infection. The damage also targets other rapidly dividing cells, which is why victims experience sudden, dramatic hair loss. The fragile linings of blood vessels also break down, leading to widespread internal hemorrhaging. The result is a slow, agonizing decline over several weeks, marked by excruciating pain, nausea, vomiting, and extreme weakness as the body systematically shuts down. This agonizing process is made more insidious by its deceptive beginnings. The initial symptoms, fatigue, abdominal pain, are so generic they are almost always mistaken for common illnesses like the flu or food poisoning, a key feature of its use as a poison. Making detection even harder, standard Geiger counters are useless against alpha emitters. Only when more specific, alarming symptoms appear, like the characteristic hair loss, do doctors suspect radiation poisoning. By then, it is far too late. The damage is done and the outcome is irreversible. The most famous and perhaps most chilling case involving polonium-210 unfolded not in a secret lab, but in the heart of a bustling metropolis. The year was 2006, and London was about to become the stage for a new kind of warfare, a silent radiological assassination that felt torn from the pages of a spy novel, but with terrifyingly real consequences. The target was Alexander Litvinenko, a former agent of the FSB, Russia's powerful secret service. After fleeing Russia, Litvinenko had become a fierce and outspoken critic of the Kremlin. He co-authored books accusing the FSB of staging deadly apartment bombings to bring Vladimir Putin to power. Granted asylum and citizenship in the UK, he continued his work, collaborating with British intelligence. On November 1, 2006, Litvinenko met two former Russian contacts, Andrei Lugovoy and Dmitry Kovtun, at the Pine Bar of the Millennium Hotel in Mayfair. The meeting seemed innocuous, a simple discussion over tea. But within that teapot, a lethal and invisible dose of the isotope was secretly administered, sealing his fate. Within hours, Litvinenko fell violently ill. For weeks, doctors were baffled. They were treating a ghost, an illness with no known cause that was systematically destroying his body. He suffered catastrophic hair loss, the collapse of his immune system, and the failure of one organ after another. From his hospital bed, in a now famous photograph, he issued a final statement directly accusing the Russian president of his murder. He died 3 weeks later, in excruciating agony. The mystery was only solved in his final hours. Desperate, doctors sent samples to the UK's atomic weapons establishment. Their scientists identified the culprit, a massive dose of alpha-emitting polonium-210. The diagnosis was unprecedented: acute radiation poisoning. British investigations concluded that the poison was administered by Lugovoy and Kovtun. Their carelessness left a terrifying radioactive trail across London. Traces were found not just in the hotel but on the plane they used, in other hotels, restaurants, and even at a football stadium. The assassins had handled the deadly material without adequate protection, contaminating themselves and creating a public health scare. The case sparked a severe diplomatic crisis. The UK publicly accused Russia of a state-sponsored assassination and demanded the extradition of the suspects. Moscow flatly refused, and in a defiant move, Lugovoy was later elected to the Russian parliament, gaining immunity from prosecution. The standoff led to tit-for-tat expulsions of diplomats and long-lasting sanctions. To this day, Moscow denies any involvement. A public inquiry in the UK, however, concluded that the operation was probably approved by the head of the FSB and by President Putin himself. The scientific evidence is irrefutable. The polonium-210 used was of a purity and quantity only achievable in a state-run nuclear reactor, a definitive signature making it the Kremlin's invisible radioactive fingerprint. In 2012, the death of Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat, which occurred in 2004, was reopened after tests on his personal belongings revealed abnormal levels of polonium-210. The exhumation of his body confirmed the presence of the isotope in quantities 18 times higher than normal. Although there is no consensus on whether poisoning was the direct cause of his death, the case reinforced polonium's reputation as the spy poison. Other rumors involve political figures and dissidents, but the lack of concrete evidence and the difficulty of tracing polonium after years make these stories more speculative than confirmed. Hard to detect, polonium's alpha radiation does not penetrate skin or clothing, making it safe for the carrier but lethal if ingested or inhaled. Confusing symptoms, early signs, nausea, fatigue, hair loss, mimic common illnesses, delaying diagnosis. Ephemeral trail. Its relatively short half-life means that after a few weeks the physical evidence disappears. Restricted access. Only governments or groups with nuclear connections can obtain it, which limits the list of suspects in poisoning cases. After the scandals, the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, tightened control over polonium-210, monitoring its production and trade. Today, its use is basically restricted to scientific research in high-security laboratories, power sources in satellites and space equipment due to its high energy density, static electricity elimination in industries in minimal controlled quantities. Countries like the USA and UK classify polonium as a risk material and require special licenses for its handling. Still, experts warn, where there is political will and resources, there are ways to bypass the system. The story of polonium-210 is a grim reminder of how scientific knowledge can be distorted. While Marie Curie dreamed of medical applications for radioactivity, her element became synonymous with betrayal and death. Today it remains a ghost in the background of geopolitics, a weapon that, though rare, continues to haunt dissidents, spies, and those who dare to challenge established power. Final question. In a world where technology advances faster than ethics, how can we prevent other scientific discoveries from becoming instruments of destruction?